Success doesn't begin with fireworks. It doesn't start with applause. It starts in the quiet, in the shadows. It begins when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when there's no reward, and no one to impress. Just you. And the choice you make in that moment. See, the world celebrates the extraordinary, but what the world forgets is that the extraordinary is built on the back of the ordinary. One simple task done right. One routine followed through. One promise kept even when it's inconvenient. Especially when it's inconvenient. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers, the talkers from the builders, the average from the great. Most people are looking for a breakthrough, a shortcut, some secret that'll skip them ahead in the line. But success doesn't come with a secret password. It doesn't need to, because the path is already visible. It's not hidden. It's just ignored. It's not mysterious. It's just consistent. It's not complicated. It's just demanding. Because success, real, lasting, soul-deep success, is doing the ordinary things with extraordinary commitment, with precision, with pride, over and over, until ordinary becomes excellent, until basic becomes beautiful, until average becomes a memory, and greatness becomes your identity. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, it's not always fun, but it is transformational, because the real difference isn't in the result. It's in who you become by doing the work. When you make your bed every morning, that's not a chore, that's a declaration. A declaration that today I will show up. When you say no to the junk food, no to the snooze button, no to the gossip and the laziness, that's not just self-control. That's identity. That's craftsmanship. That's leadership of the self. You don't need talent for that. You don't need money for that. You don't need connections for that. All you need is decision, a choice, and the will to repeat that choice tomorrow and the next day and the next until it becomes who you are. And who you are will always determine what you achieve. Most people think success is an event, a performance, a big win. But it's not. It's a pattern, a discipline, a string of small victories strung together like pearls, forming the necklace of greatness. Every extraordinary result has ordinary roots. Every champion was once a beginner. Every master was once clumsy. But they didn't stop. They didn't quit. They didn't say, "This is beneath me." No, they said, "This is how I rise." They understood something most people never will. Success doesn't come when you finally get noticed. Success comes long before that, when you decide to notice yourself. When you say, "I will give my best," not because someone's watching, but because I'm watching. I'm paying attention. I care. Because the way you do anything is the way you do everything. You want to be great? Start with being good consistently. You want to make millions? Start with managing hundreds wisely. You want to lead others? Start with leading yourself fiercely. That's the truth. And yes, it's not flashy. It won't get you viral attention, but it'll get you something better, something deeper, something that doesn't vanish when the spotlight does. And that is legacy. Let me tell you something. The janitor who sweeps the floor with care, with honor, with attention to detail, that person is already more successful than the CEO who cuts corners, who lies to gain, who disrespects the process. Because real success is not just about what you do, it's about how you do it. And the how is everything. You walk into the room and you notice the chair is crooked. You fix it. That's pride. You send the email and you proofread it, not because you have to, but because your name is on it. That's character. You show up early, stay late, and give your best when no one else is clapping. That's greatness. These are not massive, dramatic acts. They're small, often invisible, but powerful beyond measure. Because they shape you, they refine you, and they build a life that can hold the weight of success. The truth is, anyone can get lucky once. Anyone can stumble into a moment of recognition, but it takes a different kind of person to hold it, to sustain it, to grow it. And that kind of person is forged in the fire of consistency, in the discipline of details, in the honor of doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. You want power, earn it in the silence. You want respect, build it in the unseen. You want success, define it in the daily. And never forget this, the world will only see your harvest, But you will know the route. You will know the hours, the sweat, the solitude. You will know the pain, the temptation, the second guessing, and the choice you made anyway. That's what makes it yours. That's what makes it real. So stop waiting for something big to happen. Stop waiting for the perfect opportunity. It's already here. It's in the dishes, the emails, the workouts, the meetings, the conversations. The simple, daily, ordinary things that done with excellence lead to an extraordinary life. Because success isn't an act. It's a habit. And greatness is not found in what you dream. It's found in what you do. So now, ask yourself, what are the things in your life you've labeled as small, as insignificant, as not worth your best? Because I'll tell you something, that's where your breakthrough is hiding. Not in some grand vision board, not in some perfect strategy. It's hiding in the things you've been overlooking, the things you've been rushing through, the things you've been doing just enough to get by. You see, the universe doesn't reward your potential, it rewards your proof. And the proof isn't in the promises you make to the world. It's in the promises you keep to yourself. You don't become excellent by accident. You become excellent by intention, backed by relentless follow-through, by doing the reps when it's boring, by delivering quality when there's no spotlight, by staying late to fix what no one else will notice because you notice. Excellence is not a skill, it's a decision. And that decision, once made, bleeds into everything you do. When you write a note, make it thoughtful. When you greet a stranger, do it with warmth. When you speak, speak with clarity. When you show up fully. That's not fluff. That's philosophy. That's a way of living. We've been sold a lie, that the way to succeed is to do something huge, something loud, something that makes everyone say, wow. But the truth is, success rarely begins with wow. It begins with, It begins with curiosity, with effort, with trying, failing, adjusting. It begins with brushing your teeth with discipline. It begins with writing thank you notes. It begins with not skipping steps, especially the small ones. Look around at the people you admire, the ones who lead with substance, not style. You think they woke up extraordinary? No. They were forged. Forged by habit, forged by principles. Forged by doing the ordinary things like their life depended on it, because it did. Because your life, your real life, is being built right now in the decisions you think don't matter. But they do. They all do. Every time you hit snooze, that's a vote. A vote for who you're becoming. Every time you speak with integrity, that's a brick. A brick in the foundation of your legacy. Every time you say no to distraction, that's momentum. Every time you clean your space, honor your word, keep your commitment, you're shaping something. Not just your results, but your identity. And identity is the engine of destiny. See, the enemy of success isn't failure. It's indifference. It's casualness. It's the whisper that says, it's just a little thing. But success is built on the mastery of little things. Do you want to be powerful? Then become dependable. Become precise. Become thoughtful. Be the person who shows up prepared, who follows through, who doesn't need praise to do their best, because their best is who they are. I'm not talking about perfection. I'm talking about presence, about care, about being the kind of person who gives a damn every day. In the kitchen, at the gym, in the boardroom, on the sidewalk, everywhere. Because how you do this moment is how you'll do the next. And that's what makes it extraordinary. You ever notice how most people complain about their circumstances but never question their standards? They want a different result, but they keep making the same choices. They want a different body, but they skip workouts. They want wealth, but they spend like victims. They want love, but they give bare minimum energy. You can't live an average life and expect exceptional outcomes. You can't keep treating the basics like burdens and expect to be trusted with brilliance. You think someone is going to hand you success? Why would they? The world is watching what you do with what you already have. The way you manage 10 determines how you'll manage 10-0. The way you lead one person determines how you'll lead 100. The way you treat the small stage will determine if you ever stand on a big one. This is the secret no one wants to hear, that the next level is hidden inside this one. You want to rise? Then raise yourself. Raise your awareness. Raise your attitude. Raise your execution. Ordinary done with excellence becomes unstoppable. It becomes so rare in today's world that it's mistaken for genius. But it's not genius. It's grit. It's devotion. It's discipline married to humility. Because humility is the part that says, no task is beneath me. Discipline is the part that says, no moment will go wasted. Together, they form the bedrock of greatness. Now I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. Not to me, to yourself. When was the last time you gave something your all, not because of what you could get from it, but because of what it would make of you? When was the last time you pushed beyond good enough and leaned into, what if I made this excellent? That's not ambition. That's honor. Honor in your craft. Honor in your conversations. Honor in the way you carry yourself. And that is what the world is starving for. Not more noise, not more speed, but more depth, more meaning, more people who take pride in the things no one else sees. Because those are the people who build empires that last. Not just externally, internally, spiritually, mentally, financially, relationally. They build lives that cannot be shaken because their foundation isn't made of sand. It's made of substance. And substance is formed in the mundane. So if you're sweeping floors, sweep with elegance. If you're writing code, write it with intention. If you're folding laundry, fold it with excellence. If you're in school, study like your future family depends on it. Because it does. And every single time you choose excellence over ease, you reinforce the truth that will carry you further than any talent, connection, or trend ever could. That success is doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. Because we're not finished until the voice inside you stands up and says, that's who I am now. That voice has been whispering for a long time, buried under excuses, distractions, and noise. But it's still there, waiting, not for motivation, not for a miracle, but for you. You don't need to become someone else to succeed. You need to become fully yourself, the version of you that's been trying to emerge every time you chose growth over comfort, every time you felt the tug to go beyond what was expected. That version of you is shaped in the quiet moments, the repetition, the inconvenience, the stillness, and that version of you is powerful beyond belief. Let me be clear, the results will come. The rewards, the recognition, the reputation, they'll all arrive in time, but they won't define you. Because by the time they show up, you'll have already become the kind of person who doesn't need them. You'll be the one who leads without a title, who builds without applause, who wins without compromise. And that kind of success, that's not temporary. That doesn't depend on markets or moods or who's trending today. It lasts because it was built on principle, on discipline, on doing the simple things that no one else would, long enough to become someone no one else is. So let's talk about those simple things. The daily rituals, the overlooked habits, the basics that carry more power than most people will ever realize. You wake up, do it with intention. You walk into a room, carry yourself with presence. You speak, do it with clarity, not just volume. You listen, actually listen. You plan your day, don't just write a to-do list. Write a legacy map. That's how you raise your standard. That's how you raise your value. And that's how you raise your life. Because the world doesn't pay for effort, it pays for excellence. And excellence doesn't mean being the best. It means doing your best with what you have, exactly where you are. That's power. And let me say this, if you can't do it where you are, you won't do it when you get to where you think you want to be. The person you are in private will always be louder than the person you pretend to be in public. So ask yourself, what are the ordinary things you've been rushing through, resenting, or avoiding when they might actually be the keys to your transformation? That daily walk, what if It's not about steps, but about self-mastery. That team meeting, what if it's not about productivity, but about practicing presence? That difficult client, what if it's not about sales, but about sharpening your skill to stay composed under pressure? When you treat everything as training, you waste nothing. When you stop ranking tasks by prestige and start seeing every action as a reflection of your character, that's when you move different. That's when you speak different. That's when people start asking what your secret is. But there is no secret. Just decisions. Just standards. Just devotion to what others dismiss. And here's the truth you have to grab with both hands. Most people will never do this. Most people will always chase the shortcut. Most people will always look for the easy way, the trendy hack, the magic formula. Let them talk. Let them quit. Let them mock the details. Because in time, they'll be the ones asking how you did it. And you'll smile not out of arrogance, but out of gratitude. Because you'll know the answer is both simpler and harder than they want to hear. I did the small things well. I did what mattered when it didn't look like it mattered. That's your armor. That's your edge. That's your peace. You never need to fake excellence when you are excellence. And excellence, my friend, is not a finish line. It's a frequency. You don't arrive at it. You tune into it every single day. And when you do that, when you live that way, life becomes different. The noise fades. The clarity sharpens. The doubts get quieter because you're no longer building your confidence on outcomes. You're building it on execution. And execution is king. You'll stop needing permission. You'll stop waiting for the stars to align. You'll stop asking if you're good enough because you'll know, because you've shown yourself again and again, in the kitchen, in the car, at the gym, at the desk, on your feet, in your mind. With every action you take, you reinforce who you are. And eventually, you don't need motivation. You don't need reminders. You don't need anyone to push you because you push you. And that right there is the moment you become unstoppable. Because no one can compete with a person who's committed to doing ordinary things extraordinarily well every single day. And now we arrive at the quiet revolution, the one that happens not in boardrooms or arenas, but in bedrooms before dawn, in notebooks filled with plans no one else sees, in commutes where audiobooks play instead of gossip, in meals prepared with care, in conversations where presence replaces performance. That's where the extraordinary begins. And if you're really listening now, not just hearing these words, but absorbing them, then something inside you has already shifted. Because deep down, you've known all along that success was never about being flashy. It was about being faithful. Faithful to the process. Faithful to your values. Faithful to the future version of yourself you haven't met yet, but are building every single day. There's a stillness in excellence, a groundedness. It doesn't rush. It doesn't panic. It doesn't scream for attention. It simply is. Like a master craftsman, it measures twice and cuts once. Like a disciplined athlete, it trains when it's raining and when it's sunny. Like a wise investor, it sows daily without demanding immediate harvest. It understands something critical. The fruit is not your job. The planting is. The applause is not your focus. The alignment is. And if you get that, if you really live that, your success becomes inevitable, not because the road is easy, but because you become solid, centered, committed. Because when you choose to treat the ordinary with reverence, it becomes sacred. Let me paint the picture even clearer. You're in your room folding laundry, and instead of rushing through it like an annoyance, you fold each shirt with care, with presence, because you understand this is a ritual of order, of clarity, of discipline. You're preparing lunch, and instead of grabbing whatever's fast, you nourish your body with intention, because you understand health is not a luxury, it's a foundation. You're writing that email, and instead of using filler words, you cut through the fluff and you write with sharpness, with dignity, because you understand every word carries weight. Every line builds trust. This is not about being a perfectionist. This is about being a professional. Professionals don't work based on mood. They work based on mission. And your mission, if you accept it, is to become the kind of person who doesn't need a stage to practice greatness, because you are the stage. Every action, every habit, every choice, they are all part of the performance, and your character is the script. So build it well. There's a dignity in this path, a kind of inner nobility, because while others chase the fireworks, you're mastering the flame. And the flame controlled, consistent, focused will always outlast the spark, because fire that lasts is fire that's tended to. This is how you stand out in a world addicted to shortcuts. You slow down, you dig deep, you do it right. You build a life so strong, so consistent, so excellent that people stop asking, "What's your trick?" and start asking, "Who taught you to care like this?" Because that's what it comes down to, care. Excellence is a form of love. Love for the craft. Love for the future. Love for the people you serve, even if you never meet them. Because make no mistake, when you do your work with care, it reaches people. When you write with excellence, someone feels understood. When you lead with excellence, someone feels seen. When you speak with excellence, someone feels empowered. And that ripple, it's bigger than you'll ever know. So yes, ordinary things done extraordinarily well change your life, but they also change the lives around you. That's the kind of success that doesn't rot. It doesn't fade. It multiplies. It builds trust in a world starving for integrity. It builds influence without the need to manipulate. It builds wealth not just in money, but in meaning. And if that's not success, I don't know what is. So the question now is no longer, what do you want? We've moved past that. The real question is, are you willing to do the ordinary things with extraordinary excellence until the world can't ignore you? Are you willing to become so consistent, so focused, so devoted that people mistake you for lucky when really you're just disciplined? Because that's what this is. Discipline, devotion, deliberate action, not random hustle, not chasing dopamine, not living for likes. Real work, done daily, with honor. And here's the final piece, the part most people miss. You can start today. You don't need a new job. You don't need a mentor. You don't need more money. You don't need anyone's approval. You need to look at the life you already have and start treating it like it matters. You need to look at the tasks you've been rushing through and start doing them like someone who matters is watching. Because someone is. You are. And that's enough. Do it for your future. Do it for your family. Do it for your name. Do it because excellence is no longer a goal. It's your standard. And when that's your standard, success doesn't become a question. It becomes your way of life. Because the crescendo is coming. Not a shout, but a surge. Not a noise, but a knowing. It's the sound of you remembering who you are. Let me remind you, you were not born average. You were not designed for mediocrity. Somewhere along the way, life may have tried to convince you otherwise through failure, through rejection, through the long, cold silence of obscurity. But those things didn't define you. They refined you. And now here you are, standing at the edge of a choice that most never see clearly because they're too distracted chasing magic, while the real miracle is within arm's reach. It's in your routine. It's in your habits. It's in the things you do every day, the words you speak, the posture you hold, the thoughts you repeat when no one else is around. That's where greatness lives. It lives in the brushstroke of a janitor who sweeps like a sculptor, in the rhythm of a chef who chops onions like composing a symphony, in the breath of a teacher who says each name like it matters because it does, in the walk of a leader who picks up trash off the floor not because it's their job, but because they own the space they walk through. That's not just performance. That's presence. And presence, my friend, is power. So here's the truth. You don't need to do everything. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know the outcome of every move. But you do need to decide that whatever you touch today, you will touch with care. That whatever you do today, you will do it like it matters. That whoever you speak to, you will speak as someone who remembers their own worth. Because success is not a someday thing. It's a this moment thing. And right now, this moment is your turning point. It's not marked with a ceremony. It's not accompanied by fanfare, but it's real. And you'll know it's real. Because from this day forward, you won't tolerate being half present in your own life. You won't tolerate effort without intention. You won't tolerate work without soul. You won't tolerate the narrative that says, it's just a job. It's just a task. It's just a detail. No, it's everything. Because how you do the smallest thing is how you do the next thing, and the next thing is your life. And what is your life? It is the compound interest of every moment you chose to give your best when you could have gotten by with average. It is the reward for every invisible effort you made when it was easier to coast. It is the quiet roar of a soul that decided, not today. Not today will I be casual. Not today will I be careless. Not today will I be average. Today, I rise through ordinary things, extraordinarily done. So get up, stand tall, straighten your back, breathe with intention, because the world is not waiting for the next genius. The world is waiting for you, the one who does the ordinary things like no one else is willing to. That's where your greatness lives, in how you wake up, in how you shake hands, in how you finish what you started, in how you refuse to let your name be attached to anything less than your best. Do you hear that? It's the sound of your life shifting, not because something big happened, but because you did. And when you shift, everything follows. Because success is not a location. It's not a title. It's not a paycheck or a prize. Success is doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. Every single day. And from this day forward, that's exactly what you will do. Not to impress, not to prove, but because that's who you are now. And the world will notice. Because excellence never has to announce itself. It just shows up, and so will you.